of the day. So it's a real pleasure to introduce Dr. Kumar Sambhav to all of you. When I chatted with him a few days earlier, what really struck me was how one person who's passionate about an idea can take that and work diligently and create an institution from it. So he started from a few students in Galgotias University to now hundreds and thousands of people actually undergoing this course on human values. So it's a phenomenal achievement. He's actually built a whole movement from what started as a, as an individual interest. So that really struck me as something special, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to learn from this. To get us started, I'll just read out a brief profile of Dr. Kumar Sambhav. So he's an associate professor and head of the department at UP Institute of Design, Noida. He's done his BTech, MTech, and PhD in mechanical engineering from IIT Kanpur. His areas of study and interest include universal human values and computer-aided design and manufacturing. He's been conducting workshops on universal human values in different parts of the country for the past 12 years. He has also been contributing towards developing course content for core and elective courses on human values in higher education. Academically, he specializes in computer-aided design and manufacturing and has teaching experience of over 10 years. He was a course coordinator in the course of Universal Human Values at Galgotias University. He has also chaired the MTech program in mechanical engineering from the same university for over 5 years. He has worked at Tata Motors, Lucknow for over a year, and also worked at MEXI, University of Illinois, Urbana campaign under Indo-US Center of Research Excellence in Fabrionics. So that's Dr. Kumar Sambhav. Over to you, and eagerly waiting to hear from you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. So I think the PPT is going to be shared now.
Yes, sir.
The PPT will be shared. Please feel free to put in your questions in the chat, and I'll make note of them. And towards the end of the session, we will have time for Q&A.
Yeah, so can you let me know like how much time I can spend presenting the content, and for how much time we are going to have the Q&A?
So the content could go on for 40 to 45 minutes, and then we could have 15 minutes for Q&A in the end.
Fine, nice. So I'm going to talk about this particular topic, impact of a credit course on universal human values and ethics on the conduct of the students in the higher education. And I'm going to take a special case of a university where I'm teaching earlier, that is called as Galgotias University. And ma'am has already introduced me. So I'm going to talk about incorporating human values in education. So one essential topic to be discussed is the need for incorporating such an input in education. And then if we feel the need, then how do we go ahead? What are the basic guidelines to incorporate any such input on human values in education? Can there be some basic guidelines, and can that be worked out? Then in case we are able to see the need as well as the basic guidelines, then what will be the process to take it forward? That I'll also discuss. And then the content of the course. And then I'll take the case of Galgotias University, and then we'll have further insights regarding the development that have been taking place across the country in the past few years. So maybe I can have a poll here. I think the PPT that is being shared is the updated one, because there was a poll icon appearing here. Please click once, the icon will appear.
One minute, sir.
Ma'am, do you have the updated PPT? I sent it 1 hour back, I think.
Rubini?
Or if there's some issue, then I can share from my side. No issues. The updated file is named as version 1, V1.
Rubini, do you have it?
No, ma'am. I just saw, like, I just got this PPT only. I didn't get the updated PPT.
Fine, ma'am. I'll share from my side then. Is that fine?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, sir. Sure.
I hope the slide is visible.
Yes.
Okay. So can we launch the poll here? So do you see that there is a need for incorporating human values in education? You may strongly agree, neither agree, nor disagree, or strongly disagree. So let me proceed also. In the meantime, when the results appear, then I will talk about the results. So as I propose here, there is a need for incorporating values in education. So I think most of us are in education. So let me just know whether the participants in the session are a part of education. They are faculty in some institutions or also from industry. Can I just get to know, Veda ma'am? Any?
We don't know. So
Okay,
people
okay.
can, put it on chat, then I can let you know.
Okay, nice.
Yes.
Fine. So, okay, even if you are not, so we have been through education, and there is one word associated with education that is called as sanskar. I could not get the right word for sanskar in English, closest to the meaning of this word, so I put it as it is. So we need to have an education sanskar in place which can be termed as humane. So with this education in place, we are able to develop a humane worldview. Okay, nice. We can be able to develop a human worldview, a human perspective. So when the students come in higher education, they might have very limited perspective, like getting a degree, getting a good job, a handsome salary, placement abroad, or things like this. But can we have a perspective through education where they are able to contemplate upon their role in the society, their role in the family, their self, how they are going to develop as an individual in their life, their role in the nature. So that kind of perspective can be developed when we have our education system, which can be termed as human. Now, with this perspective, they are able to contemplate upon the human values. They are able to contemplate upon their role at every level of living, be it individual, family, society, or nature. They are able to contemplate upon their roles. And then when they have this kind of maturity, this kind of competence through education, then only they are able to pick the right kind of skills, which can enable them to live with human conduct. So presently, if you see, the students pick skills only based on certain limited vision, like a package or workplace, okay, or a kind of job that they have, but they're not able to look it in a holistic sense. How this skill, how this job is going to fulfill others in the society, in the nature. So when they are able to do this, then only we can have an education which can be the building block of a human society, a human order, a human culture, and a human civilization. So this is the perspective that I wanted to share here. Can I get the reflection that I got on the poll? Can that be shared? So how many of us agree or how many of us disagree with this? Okay, so everybody strongly agrees. Very happy to see this. Very nice. Now, when you go to incorporate human values in education, then there have to be certain basic guidelines based on which we can say that this is valuable and this is not valuable. So one of the basic guidelines is that it has to be universal. And that essentially means that it has to be applicable to a human being, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, region, sect, whatever. Right? It has to be applicable to every human being. Second thing, it has to be rational. It cannot be a list of sermons, a list of do's and don'ts, should and shouldn'ts. It has to be something rational, which in which the student can apply the logic. Okay, it cannot be some borrowed notion, some dictum. It has to be rational. Logic has to be applicable. Thirdly, it has to be verifiable, and that essentially means two things. So if something comes to me as a proposal, first of all, it has to come to me as a proposal. If it comes as a dictum, if it comes as a guide, if something like given, then I may not be able to accept it. But if it comes as a proposal and then I am asked to verify, then only I try to live accordingly or verify. So when something comes to me as a proposal, the first thing that I do as a human being is to verify it on the basis of my natural acceptance. So I try to see whether this is acceptable to me naturally or not. For example, if I ask you, what is naturally acceptable to you? Feeling of relationship or feeling of opposition? So what do you say? Can I have some response here? What is naturally acceptable to you?
Can you repeat the question again? Can you repeat the question again, please?
Screen seems to be frozen. Yeah, Kumar, can you repeat the question, please?
Just I wanted to ask, my voice is clearly audible?
Now you are.
Okay, I'll hold the mic close to my mouth now. I was just asking that if I ask you what is naturally acceptable to you, feeling of relationship or feeling of opposition?
Opposition means?
Opposition means getting into conflict with the other, having the feeling of opposition with the other. What is naturally acceptable?
Obviously, everybody would say the first one.
Feeling of relationship, yes. Now let us see from where did we get this answer. That innate faculty in each one of us is the natural acceptance. We naturally accept feeling of relationship. So this is verifiability. This is verifying what is being said as a proposal. And the second part of verification is that I go to live with that proposal. So one part is verifying within at the level of my natural acceptance. And the second part is living accordingly. So when I go to live accordingly, I fulfill the relations because I am related to other human being, either in the family or in the organization. And I try to see whether this is leading to mutual happiness or not. Similarly, when I interact with the rest of nature, I try to see whether this is mutually fulfilling to the rest of nature or not. So this is experiential validation. So one part is verifying at the basis of natural acceptance, and second thing is validating in one's own experience while living accordingly. Now going by these two, I'm able to see that yes, this is what I really want to be. And then this becomes a part of my understanding. So this is verifiability. And the fourth thing is it has to be leading to harmony. Ultimately, we want harmony to evolve. Now, when we have the inputs based on these guidelines, then the skill education can be value guided. So presently, our education is much of skill biased, but if we can incorporate such inputs in the education, then the skills that we are trying to impart to the students can be value guided. And then it can lead to an equitable and just society. And if you see the new education policy, the new education policy in the very first line says that ultimately we have to work for an equitable and just society. So let me take another reflection here based on these guidelines. Can we have the second launch poll? So I'm able to appreciate the basic guidelines for any input in value education. So how do we see this? We strongly agree, neither agree nor disagree, strongly disagree. If somebody would like to say something here, then I can have
so
that
by
input
guidelines,
also.
Kumar, what you mean is these 5 points that you've said: universal, rational, verifiable.
That means that if I am proposing anything as an input in the class to the students, it has to obey these guidelines.
Yeah, okay.
It cannot be sectarian. It cannot be just like a set of do's and don'ts. It has to be rational, you know,
Right.
things like this. So let me proceed, then we'll get back to the results of the poll. So the process is self-exploration. So ultimately, anything that goes as a value in the classroom has to go through the process of self-exploration, right? And how it will go, the way I was just mentioning. So whatever is being said, it has to be taken as a proposal without assuming it to be a true or false. It may be the case that what I'm saying tallies with the presupposition of the child or anybody, okay? And then one may agree, or it may vary, it may differ, and then one may disagree. But it's not the question of agreeing or disagreeing here, essentially in the process of verification. Okay, it has to be verified on one's own right. So that's why we are saying that do not assume it to be true or false, but rather verify it. And this is one part of verification, verifying on the basis of our natural acceptance. And the second part is experiential validation, that is living accordingly. So when I go to live accordingly, I behave with human beings, and then I try to verify whether this is leading to mutual happiness or not, whether I am happy in the process, whether I am able to ensure happiness for the other in the process. In a similar manner, when I work with the rest of nature, with soil, air, water, plants, animals, birds, trees, I need to find out whether this is enriching the nature also or not. If I try to become prosperous by depleting the nature, my prosperity is short-lived. But if I am able to validate that, yes, this is not only going to make me prosperous, but also it is going to enrich the nature, then this can be a sustainable process. And we can see that with the skills being imparted right now and with the kind of production systems we have done so much of damage to the nature. And that's why every summit, which is happening internationally, people are talking about global challenges, global warming, climate change, and all those things. So when this happens, then it is a part of my right understanding. I'm able to see this within innately. I'm also able to validate in my living, and this becomes a part of my right understanding. And that essentially means that I am able to see that, yes, this is it. This is the way to go ahead. So just try to find out which process is naturally acceptable to you. This process of self-exploration, self-verification on your own right, leading to understanding in yourself, or a process of do's and don'ts in which you assume what is said without verification. So maybe I can have the reflection to the first poll. Okay, so here we have mix of responses. So some of us strongly agree, some agree. There are some answers like neither agree nor disagree, and maybe there is some response saying disagree, but nice. So let us go by this and let us see how it comes up going by this. So this is all an open proposal and we have to verify. Maybe we can have the next poll also. And in the meantime, I'll respond to the question that is shared in the chat box. So can we have the next poll? So which process is naturally acceptable to you? A process of self-exploration or a process of do's and don'ts? Here you can respond. In the meantime, there is some question asked here. There could be exceptions everywhere depending on the situation. Mutual is not what you think. I is only 50% of mutual. Yes. So mutual essentially means me and the other. So the other can be the human being or the other can be any entity in nature. So when I'm talking about human being, we have to talk about relationship, and then we have to see whether this is going to ensure happiness for me as well as the other or not. And similarly, when I'm going to work with the rest of nature, again, I can see whether this is going to enrich the nature or deplete the nature. So yes, so validation essentially means that I live accordingly and then see mutual correlation. So let me proceed. In the meantime, the results of the poll can be also looked into. Now, if you look at the content of value education, so it has to encompass all this that matters to me. So as a human being, we all require physical facility, and that we get from the nature. Okay, but is that all that we require as a human being, or something more than this? Now, one way to make an idea of this is, let us go back and look into our families and try to see what is the major source of problems in the family today. Is it the lack of physical facility or is it the lack of relationship? And then we can see that mostly the problems that are coming are due to the lack of relationship and not due to lack of physical facility. So we can see that it's not only a physical facility that is required as a human being for me, I also require relationship. And relationship holds a higher priority over physical facility. That is something that we can look into and try to verify that what holds a higher priority for us, relationship or physical facility. So can I have some reflection here in the chat box? As a human being, what holds a higher priority for us, physical facility or relationship? Can we have some response here? One or two responses.
Relationship, of course.
Relationship. Nice, very nice. Now, even though we accept to live in relationship, fulfill the relationship, but many times we enter into problems in the relationship. There are conflicts. And why those conflicts are? Because we might not be having right understanding of the relationship. And that's how the right feeling is not ensured. For example, we expect mutual trust in the relationship. But maybe I'm not able to understand what trust means. The other is also not able to understand what trust means. So when I go to fulfill the relationship, okay, the mutual happiness is not ensured. So how to ensure trust in relationship? For that, right understanding is required. Okay.
So
Similarly,
there's some more
yeah.
comments, Kumar. So it says relationships
Sure.
get affected by physical facility, and currently the world is going towards physical facility and relationship taking a back seat. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not an either or. Both are important.
Certainly. But what holds a higher priority? Can we have some reflection? Like ma'am said that relationship. So responding to the comment by Umaji. So yes, this is the current state of the world. Okay, relationship is taking a back seat. And that's how you can see that we are suffering relationships also. And relationships get affected by physical facilities when we do not have right understanding of either relationship or physical facility. So with the same physical facility, same amount of physical facility, maybe we are able to have harmony in the relationship if we have the right understanding. But if you are not having the right understanding, then with the same amount of physical facility, we may have feuds. We have family feuds. We have splits. Okay, we have so many issues in the relationship, in the family, in society today. So this is something that we can contemplate upon. So if you try to observe this closely, you will find that right understanding will come at the first priority. But again, this is an open proposal. With right understanding only, I'm able to understand each other. With right understanding only, I'm able to make out what physical facility I require, how much I require, how to fulfill it. Isn't it? For example, if I do not, if I'm not able to make out how much physical facility I require, can I ever have the feeling of having enough? That is not possible. So I need to know how much I require. I also need to know how to acquire, whether this is by exploiting the other or fulfilling the other. So this is the whole content of the course, and we elaborate upon this. So when you go to elaborate upon the right understanding, we have to talk about every level of living of a human being, be it as an individual or family or society or nature or existence, because everything matters to me and I am there. Each one of us is an individual. Each one of us is there in a family. We are a part of society, and we are there very much in the nature and existence. So I have to understand. So the whole course is a proposal, set of proposals about each and every level of living, and then the dialogue takes place with the student. So the faculty would propose this something in the class and then allow the students to question. And then a dialogue takes place between the faculty and the student. And gradually that dialogue becomes a dialogue within the own self of the student. This is the whole way the course proceeds. And then it becomes a part of my living as an individual, as a part of family, society, nature. So this understanding part is the core of education, and this living part is sanskar. And that's how we are able to ensure mutual happiness and mutual prosperity. So maybe I can have the results of the previous poll that I had shared. Okay, nice to hear that. Nice to see that Umaji has worked a lot on value education. So can I have the reflection that we had in response to the previous poll that I launched? Okay, Vedaji, you are muted, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I can see that all participants have said the first response, which is a process of self-exploration and self-verification.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So now I'll take the case of a particular university where I was teaching from 2012 to 2018. And briefly, let me mention that I was a part of team already before going to the university, where we had been working for incorporating human values in education. And the effort reached a large scale when we had this course incorporated in Abdul Kalam Technical University, the State Technical University of UP. and then gradually it went to Punjab Technical University, Himachal Pradesh Technical University, and in that process, Galgotias was the first private university where this course was included. So I got the chance to taking it forward. Then I'll talk about the details of the course, how the implementation took place, the impact of the course on the students, the inferences that we can draw from the survey, the impact of the course on the faculty. These things I'm going to touch upon. So a school called as School of Lifelong Learning was started in 2013 by Professor Ashok Saxena. He was the Vice Chancellor then. And the inputs in human values began under this School of Lifelong Learning. And this course was titled as LL 101. So every year, bachelor level students of 12 schools studied this course, and the schools included architecture, basic and applied sciences, computer science and engineering, chemical engineering, civil, education, electrical, electronics and communication, finance and commerce, hospitality, humanities and social sciences, mechanical engineering, nursing. So these many schools got included in it. And the total number of students in the year when I conducted this survey, that was in 2015 winter. So there were 2 semesters, fall and winter semester. So in winter semester, like in that particular year, academic year, the total number of students was 2,800. And it was run in the first year as a credit course with that LTPC, that is lecture, tutorial, practical, and credits structure as 3003. Then to begin with, Honorable Vice Chancellor attended the International Conference on Human Values in Higher Education at IIIT Hyderabad. So before this pandemic took place, we have been conducting International Conference on Human Values in Higher Education, and that started, I think, in 2011. And since then we have been conducting. We did till 2019, but we have not been able to do previous year as well as this year. And Vice Chancellor himself attended that conference, and then he thought of taking this forward. So a one-day workshop was organized at the university where we talked about the importance and content of the course, that the way we are discussing here. And the Chancellor himself participated and got very influenced by the whole thing. And then he made up his mind that he will take it forward in his own university. And the heads of different institutions also came there to share their experiences where the course had been running. And then we organized multiple workshops. So in the first 2 years, we organized 7 week-long workshops, 1 4-day workshop, 1 3-day workshop, 1 2-day workshop. And some of the workshops took place outside the university, and some workshops took place also within the university. In fact, later we also decided that while the examinations were going on, the faculty would be doing the examination duties in the forenoon session, and in the afternoon session, they will be attending the workshop. So this way we try to take it forward. And we try to encourage the faculty from all the schools to undergo this orientation program in the summer that followed in 2013. And this was made clear that this course is not to be taught only by humanities department or social sciences department. Every department had to develop its own faculty, and they will be teaching the course to their own students. So this is the way we implemented. And it was also decided that only the faculty having attended the week-long workshops were given to teach this course. That was the minimum requirement. And then regular meetings were organized with the faculty every Friday. So every Friday we meet for at least 2 hours, and we discuss the lectures that would be shared in the next week. And their FAQs were taken care of in those meetings. And that's how the course became more effective. Then we also organize weekly meetings every Sunday with the faculty and their family members. So like this university is located in Greater Noida of Gautam Buddha Nagar district of UP. And I was also residing by that university. So we try to have one meeting at least once a week with the family members and faculty members on their places of residence. And that was done by rotation. And at the time of survey, about 90 faculty at the university had attended the complete week-long workshop. So this course has been just like any other course. Like pedagogy that was followed was similar to the other courses. So students had to appear for quizzes, submit assignments, do projects, and also appear for midterm and end-term examinations. The question papers were planned to be set so as to promote self-exploration, to avoid the students to learn this course by rote. And we also thought of incorporating such questions which avoided the students to learn anything by rote. So there were two parts of the question, rather, I'll say. In one part of the question, they had to reproduce what they had learned in the course, the proposal put forward. And in the second part, they had to share their own exploration. How would they react or respond to a situation based on this kind of input? And the situation would be like anything in the family or society, and things like that were asked. And they were called as higher order thinking questions. And the aim was to ensure lifelong learning in the students. So the basic uh, preparation had to be made through the course so that they could respond to any kind of situation in life proactively in a holistic manner. And the assignments were designed to exercise self-exploration. The examinations were designed to test the grasp of the concept. So the two things were taken care of. And the students were encouraged to interact personally with the faculty after the class to clear their doubts. And every semester we used to conduct a survey. So earlier this was conducted on hard paper, but gradually it came to an online platform. We had a software called Moodle on which it was presented. So what was the impact of the course on the students? So I'm going to share here based on the course survey conducted in the winter semester of 2015. So 18 sections of the students studied the course. 18 sections means 18, like one section has 60 students. So in this particular winter semester, there were 1,000 students across 18 sections. In the fall semester, there were about 1,800 students in different sections. And the course was taught by 16 instructors as 3 lecture hours. So the LTPC was 3003, lecture, tutorial, practical. So we allotted 3 hours. And then 15 questions were included in the survey, and the last question asked them to give the feedback in their own words. And we made sure that the survey was conducted by a faculty who was not teaching that particular batch, so that the responses were unbiased. And we used the 5-point Likert scale to evaluate the response of the questions. And the way we are having the poll here in a similar manner, like from strongly agree to strongly disagree, we had the poll. And the questions were like this. I'm just going through the questions in the poll. So as a result of the Universal Human Values and Ethics course, do you feel that your understanding of physical facility in life as a university student has been better than before? So about 78% students say that yes, it has been better. They are able to better analyze and articulate the need for physical facility. Their motivation to attend the UHV classes and to participate actively in the discussions increased during the semester. So again, 77% students said yes. As a result of the UHV course, your understanding of the purpose of education is better. You are motivated to attend classes in the current and future semesters. And there also we can see the response like this. So strongly agree and agree make about 76%. Then as a result of the course, you are clearer of the true meaning of happiness. So again, we can see a kind of positive response coming here. UHV can be taught and discussed with preciseness like any other subjects. This was a very good reflection that if you see about 70% students are saying that yes, it can be taught, it can be discussed. And in fact, the kind of process that was adopted like self-exploration was something very rare to this course. So students were able to appreciate. Dr. TV Rao is saying that, can I share the course content and examples of the projects? Certainly, I can do. And these details are interesting, but will make more sense if you know the content of learning experiences. Okay, certainly. I'll do that. I think there is another message. Okay, no, fine. So UHV can be practiced by the individual. Again, we can see that 80% students agree that yes, it can be lived. It's not only to be learned by rote or discussed in a classroom, that can be lived. I see that unhappiness is more due to lack of fulfillment in relationship than due to lack of physical facility. And we can see that 80% students are agreeing to this, that yes. So this is the kind of response. More than 3/4 students almost are able to appreciate the importance and need of this course and also appreciate the input. My negative emotions like doubting intention of the other, anger, greed, jealousy, irritation, etc. have reduced as a result of this course. So again, we can see the response here. Did the UHV course help you understanding the relationship, and as a result, you will try to develop better relationship and more meaningful interaction with your parents? So yes, 87%. Teachers, yes, 83%. Friends, yes, 84%. So things like this came up. And that's how this course could sustain very easily there. I would like to share the content of the course with my friends and family. Yes. So 81% say yes, I would like to do. Then the contents of the UHV course are appropriate for university students. You feel that you can be more self-disciplined and this has helped you in transition from school to the university. Again, we can see a positive response here. The examinations in the UHV course were of appropriate level and tested your understanding of the subject matter. So we can see again the responses here. There's one message in the chat box. Can you share any case study that is students being impacted and the kind of changes happening in their life due to participation? Certainly, sir. In fact, let me just complete this presentation and then I'll respond to all this. Okay, Dr. Rashmi Saxena is there. Okay, okay. I hope you are the same with whom I have been interacting earlier also. The teacher provided effective motivation and support for understanding. So you can again see the response here. The UHV experience was transformational in terms of starting a process of self-exploration, reflective thinking in you. So again, we can see the response here. So this is the way we conducted a survey every semester. And the faculty also got self-motivated. In fact, many times the faculty used to get personally involved with the students also. They would discuss with the students, call them to their office and then talk about their personal issues. So things like this also happened. So what could be the inferences from this survey? I talk about it. So one thing that could come up very clearly was that the course on human values is teachable. Within a semester, the students are able to grasp the concepts taught in the class to a large extent. So this is teachable. Okay. Many times people do say that values can only be caught and not taught. So the response is that yes, it can of course be taught. At the same time, it has to be caught. So catching would mean that informally also I'm able to explore within me and contemplate upon the values. But at the same time, some input has to be given, right, in terms of human values. We have a course of moral science, which is being taught in the schools for a long time. But if you see, mostly when we talk about morals, it becomes a set of do's and don'ts. So we remember for a certain period of time, and then we find this impracticable in life. But when we try to help the students explore by themselves and reach a conclusion, then this becomes a part and parcel of their living. Then some of the students have responded to the survey saying that they strongly agree or disagree, and this indicates strongly disagree, I'll say, or disagree. And this indicates that the opinions of the students have not been influenced by the faculty teaching the course. So they are also allowed to disagree. The percentage of students who strongly agree and agree to the questions regarding the practicability of the proposals put forward in the class has been high, indicating that the course is effective in conveying the practice of human values in living. So this is another takeaway. And the course has been highly effective in improving the relationship of the students within as well as outside the family. This is something that we would also get through their sharing personally. Then what could be the scope for future work? So like tutorial classes added with lectures will help the student to understand better. And for the tutorial, the classes can be split into smaller groups. In fact, these discussions are very important. When we have a batch of 60 students, they can be split into 2 groups and we have to interact with 30 students. Then the students come up with their real life issues. They are able to open up, boys and girls both. Right? So if this kind of opportunity is given and the discipline is ensured to a certain level, you'll find that this becomes a phenomenal kind of course. Students can be encouraged to discuss and explore. Then assignments and projects which reinforce the inputs given in the class add to the effectiveness of the course. So you have to think about more and more assignments and projects. In fact, today we are talking about project-based learning also. So the more projects we include based on UHV, that will help the students relate to the course better. Then the association of the faculty with the students with a feeling of relationship adds further value to the course. That touch is important. Okay, that heart-to-heart relationship is very important between faculty and the students. Then some higher level courses based on human values can be introduced in the universities to promote further the holistic development of the students. So let me say that as of now, on this date, AKTU, that is the Technical University of UP, has incorporated one course on UHV in every year, plus some elective courses. And now these are being proposed to AICT also. I'll talk about them briefly. Activities which present ways to the students to participate in the society and nature can be included in the educational programs of the students. So this is also quite possible. So this is certain scope for future work. I'm rushing a bit because there's some limitation of time. It is already 4:15, so I'm rushing a bit. But if you want me to pause and share something, then I can certainly do. Impact of the course on the faculty. So the faculty are able to recognize the need for physical facilities in life better than the and the sense of prosperity grows. And this is something which is very important, particularly if you look at the teaching fraternity in the colleges, if they are all the time concerned about the payment and the timely disbursement of salary and so many things, they are not able to focus on the development of the students. But once they are able to recognize the need for money and physical facility rightly, then that helps add to the quality of the teaching part. The relationship with the family, faculty, and management in the university becomes more harmonious. They are better able to contribute to the life of students as they can feel related to them. With such input, the vision of the faculty about life and profession also gets transformed. So this is something that is not through a survey, but this is through our personal evaluation. They are able to better locate the need for research. Yeah, so research is now more valuable. With this clarity, they are able to choose meaningful projects for the students like renewable energy, appropriate technology, and things like this. This is another thing to add. Now, briefly talking about the further development that has taken place. So in 1980s, this course on science and humanism was introduced at IIT Delhi. In 2001, Ministry of Human Resource and Development established National Resource Center in Value Education at IIT Delhi, NCRT, and IIM Lucknow. In 2005, IIIT Hyderabad experiment with a mandatory 2-semester course was done on UHV. And this was the time when the scaling up started. In 2009, YKTU, that is Abdul Kalam Technical University, it was earlier named as UP Technical University, UPT, took it up, and then the scaling up started. It had about 550 colleges at that time. Presently, this has 700 colleges. Then Punjab Technical University took it up in 2011, which had about 250 colleges. Then 2012, the Vice Chancellor of Royal University of Bhutan from Bhutan attended one international conference, and he took it up in the university. And you might be aware that Bhutan already had an index of gross national happiness, which is based on 4 pillars. And then UHV was incorporated in one of the pillars, that this has to be there as a part of syllabus and course. And this was taken very seriously by Bhutan. And presently also they are working sincerely. In 2012, Himachal Pradesh Technical University took it up, and then Bikaner Technical University in 2018. Now in Andhra Pradesh also so many colleges and universities came up. So by 2020, 40 plus universities in 10 states of India have the UHV Foundation course as a core part of the academic curriculum. In 2011, IIT Gandhinagar started a 5-week induction program for creating well-rounded personality. In 2013, NIT Trichy followed this model with a 3-week induction program. And in 2016, there was 153rd meeting of the IIT directors who endorsed IIT Gandhinagar initiative and recommended 5-week human values-based orientation program for new UG students in the IIT system. And 3 IITs, in particular IIT BHU, IIT Mandi, and IIT Patna, started the 3-week induction program. Now, if you see in 2017, I think it is there, 2017, AICT, which has 10,000 technical institutions under its umbrella, included this induction program. And in 2020, AICT had 160 credits as a part of UG curriculum, and it extended to 163 credits to incorporate this mandatory course on human values in UG. So now it is a part of all these colleges under AICT. So from these experiments, I think we can be clear that yes, human values can be taught. Problems are largely a result of the lack of human values and not only lack of skills. So mostly we try to look at problems in terms of skills, but if you look at the national development, it will result only when we have this deficit being addressed, lack of human values. And if it is addressed through education, it can be more sustainable. UHV can be used as a starting point for further developing a universal framework for incorporating values in mainstream education. And this effort is already on. Let me say that when we're talking about the case studies, so not less than, I think, 1,000 people are presently involved in taking this forward across the country. And all these people are working for it voluntarily without charging any fee or salary for that. They are doing it voluntarily. And many of them have also opted to do it full time. So that is also there. So this is the current state of the development. So this was all from my side. I'll just take a brief reflection from you towards the end and then respond to your questions. Okay, so can we launch this poll? The last one. Yeah, so I'm able to see that human values can be taught if it is taught through a process of self-exploration. Do we strongly agree, neither agree, nor disagree, strongly disagree? In the meantime, there are some comments and questions here. So let me just have a look at this. So all inductions programs may not focus on human values. Yes, that may be true. Any course on human values require the faculty to practice values they teach, or at least open to questioning by students and experience on the challenges faced by the faculty. Okay, certainly, sir. In fact, let me share on this particular platform that the ICT has been conducting online workshops for faculty across the country since April last year. I can share the link also here. So if we feel that we have time, we can go and attend one of those workshops also. And secondly, I'll say that yes, there have been some challenges. So it so happens that once I'm into this process of self-exploration, so I look at two realities within me, what I am and what I really want to be, and I can see a gap. So the faculty are able to see that gap, and they're also able to see the way to go ahead. So the faculty take the approach of being self-explorer, co-explorer. So every faculty approaches the student saying that I'm a co-explorer. It's only that I listened to the proposal earlier, you are listening to this now, but we are co-explorers in the process and we have to develop each other. So the challenges are there, but yes, let me say that the people who already have something similar to what is being taught in the course are able to make a faster progress in comparison to those who are not able to see those things within them. Let me take a brief. So in the beginning, it may appear a little difficult, but when the faculty become co-explorers with the students, then the process becomes far more simple. That is, I am exposed to this content, I am trying to live accordingly, understand it, and you are there. And you can also take it as a proposal and try to live accordingly, and we can share the issues or the questions that we have. And to help the faculty address the class better, we have been running series of workshops. We have been running different levels of workshop so that the faculty is able to get more insights into the course, able to explore deeper and wider. So this kind of thing is taken up. So there are various challenges. Okay.
Mr. Kumar, I mean, I would say, let me congratulate you on this, being able to accomplish such a massive level values education, which has always been one of my dreams, but I didn't have any forum to kind of get to it. A couple of comments. One is this, based on my experience, I have some difficulty with this universal human values. There can be universal human principles or maxims or ideals of life. However, values by definition are something which the individual has and needs to discover. So while there may be a great possibility of finding connection with some universal human values, but the problem that I must have trained thousands and God knows how many people in values clarification. And my experience is that people always say the right thing. They seem to always know what is the right value to practice, but their practice falls much short of the ideal. And that is because there is so much dilution and so much exposure in the current world, And these are not the main two values, like values of relationships and values of physical facilities. There is so much else that a human being has going on. Need for power, need for recognition, and what actually drives a person is a combination of those things and the priority that each individual gives to different things. So it's a much more complex thing. And however, that having said that, I don't want to undermine that what effort you have made and what you have been able to accomplish, that at least sensitize the students that there is something like values, and they at least in principle accept that they can practice it. So however, my guess would be a lot more deeper work is required both with the teachers and connecting with TV's question about faculty role modeling. I mean, that's how I see it. Faculty role modeling, what they are actually preaching, it's a big thing. I mean, it's easier said than done, actually.
So a very brief answer to your question would be that I would like to invite you to a complete workshop if you can afford to give so much of time. So basically we are going to have another workshop from this 27th of September. If you can have time, then you can enroll, and I will share the link of the workshops. Anytime that you are able to spare, please do join. You have a sincere concern for UHV, I think, human values, and then going to the workshop will give you a better insight into the program that is being taken forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's another question in the chat from Vara. See, what is your thought about introduction of value education in final year of schooling?
Yeah, I'm just trying to share one link and then I'll come to it. Yeah,
sure.
Just one moment.
If you're done with the presentation, maybe you can end it so that the conversation can be better. Yeah.
Okay. So I should remove the slide from here?
Yes. If you don't have any more slides.
No, you can stop sharing the screen.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So let me just share that link here.
Sure.
That is for the workshop. Yes. What is my opinion on the introduction of value education in the final year of schooling? Yeah, certainly. This is certainly desirable. See, it has been always said that why not take human values right from the primary education? So we do agree to that. But the point is how to develop faculty, how to develop teachers. So to be able to develop teachers for the course, we need to enter into higher education. But gradually this has to percolate to every segment of education, right from primary to all the steps of higher education. Have I seen James Sampath's work on values? Any views using stories and leading to self-expression? Yeah, when we take this content in primary and secondary education, no, so these things will be more meaningful in terms of stories and things. But the stories and examples always have a limitation, okay, because they are subject to a particular situation or place or surrounding. So we can do two things. We can talk about the essence in the first place, and then we can talk about the implementation part using the stories and moral, or using the stories and examples and poems. Those things are quite possible. But the essence has to be conveyed. Otherwise, the same story can have different implications for different people. So that has to be taken care of. That is something like a word of caution from my side. Any other question or reflection?
So this link that you have posted is the link for the workshop.
Yes. FDP is Faculty Development Program, SI Student Induction, and that is on the AICTE portal.
And how long is this?
It's a 5-day online workshop. It starts at 9:30 in the morning and goes up to 5:30 in the evening.
So will this link also have details about the course? Because there were quite a few questions on the course content. So
certainly. So briefly it has.
Okay.
But the way I was mentioning, no. So in the workshop, on the very first day, we talk about the need, basic guidelines, and then we talk about the right priority of relationship and physical facility, and then how right understanding comes at the first priority. Then we talk about the process of self-exploration, and then we'll go on to discuss the harmony at every level, right, from individual to the whole existence. So as it proceeds, people are getting better insights and they are able to connect better to the content to follow. So for example, if I understand myself, then only I can understand the other. Then I can understand the relationship better. And when I understand human beings properly, then only I can understand other entities in the nature. So this is the whole thing. And in fact, material is also available there. If you go to the website of AICTE, so all the PPTs and the course handouts, they are all available.
It's not possible to reach this link. It says it's not safe. It's private.
You can do one thing, you copy this, paste it in Google, and then you will get the link to access.
Then I will access it.
Yeah. There is some limitation when you have strong this antivirus, no, it does not allow.
Yeah.
But this is completely safe, let me say. Nothing to that.
I mean, but they're not giving me the option of opening.
Let me just try from here if it opens. I'll just share that once it opens.
So we're down to the last minute, Dr.
Yeah.
Kumar. So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you.
Certainly.
This has been an extremely engaging session, and the rich content and the work you've done is actually phenomenal. I wish there were more people here to hear you, but the recording will be available. So all the participants who registered will be able to access the recording once summit is over. So thank you very much.
So should I share that